This is the modern playbook for developing small businesses. The standard procedure includes scheduled goal-setting sessions, strict quarterly expansion targets, and pristine financial projections. Success in these programs is usually measured by transactional inputs. Did we distribute the software licenses? Were laptops delivered? How many hours did founders spend sitting in compliance workshops? On paper, this systematic, highly structured approach to scaling an enterprise makes perfect sense. It feels logical. It feels foolproof. But this entire model rests on a massive foundational flaw. It assumes the founder is operating in a stable, frictionless vacuum. Put a real human being at that table, and the reality looks completely different. We sit an entrepreneur down, demand they review financial models, and instead find them completely paralyzed, suffering from extreme cash flow volatility and severe personal burnout. The friction of high-pressure operations triggers this paralysis, overriding a founder's work ethic and competence. There is an invisible wall between the rigid demands of the corporate agenda and the chaotic, overwhelming reality of that founder's daily existence. Look at this excerpt from a recent industry brief. It argues that expecting a founder to draft 12-month growth targets while in active survival mode is biologically equivalent to asking someone to calculate compound interest while escaping a house fire. To understand why the founder locks up, we have to leave the boardroom and look inside their biology. When an individual experiences severe, chronic stress, their brain undergoes a measurable, documented physiological shift. The amygdala, the brain's primary survival engine, detects a threat and aggressively seizes control of the nervous system. This hijack triggers a primal response. The body immediately prepares for fight, flight, or freeze. At this exact moment, the person sitting across from you is no longer functioning as a CEO. Biologically speaking, they are an organism simply trying to survive. Survival requires immediate physical energy, so the brain actively reroutes blood flow and neural resources away from regions it deems non-essential for a crisis. The primary casualty of this rerouting is the prefrontal cortex, which experiences a drastic drop in blood flow and neural activity. The prefrontal cortex is the exact region of the brain responsible for strategic thinking, risk assessment, and long-term goal setting. This exposes the absurdity of the traditional corporate model. We are demanding high-level strategic output from a brain region that has literally been powered down. No amount of grant funding, software licenses, or compliance checklists can bypass this physiological roadblock. You simply cannot strategy map a brain locked in survival mode. When a founder hits this biological wall, pushing forward with the standard agenda and spreadsheets only deepens their anxiety. We have to stop and initiate an immediate de-escalation. This document outlines a triage protocol, starting with Step 1, regulate first. Completely stop the corporate agenda and physically ground the founder's nervous system. Next, Step 2, shrink the horizon. Isolate the single biggest stressor and reduce the planning window to the next 48 hours. Only after executive function and mental clarity are biologically restored can you move to Step 3. Now you can safely re-engage with long-term strategy and frame those initial milestones around risk reduction and stabilization rather than aggressive expansion. Effective supplier development must account for this biological reality by engineering support around the entire human being, as seen in frameworks like ESDinabox. That foundation begins with spiritual resilience, ensuring that the entrepreneur has purpose-driven clarity and crisis-tested mental fortitude before disaster strikes. It requires personal growth, building emotional intelligence and operational time mastery long before you touch technical scaling or supply chain readiness. We can distribute all the enterprise software in the world, but tools alone do not build businesses. Resilient, biologically regulated human beings do.